everything else that went on in the world, I feel that the hours are gonna get bumped up. But we belong to the Southwest Training Board, and we have one person sits on that board to bring training in and to help train. So I think it would probably be our decision to make sure we pick the right people to go to training.
I mean, I was thinking about it a little bit, and I was just thinking that we could maybe put a little committee together to look at this and get more down in the weeds with it and see if, how we want to handle this, because, it's going to be, it's going to be a lot discussed tonight.
Right, yeah, and again, that's mainly why I brought it forward, is just to try to get a discussion started so that we can talk.
But I would, I'm going to ask the council who could be interested in doing something, or maybe working on that. We could get 2 or 3 people to maybe work with you to get more facts. But I think in the interim, I'd like to, the process that we set up starting this year, I'd still like for you to take a look at that.
I did, and then Marky suggested I do this, because I was gonna do it for the ones that are on that paper that are instructors, and he thought it was too much to do, so he suggested I come in here and do this instead of putting a form in on every one of them.
I just realize that, but I just think if maybe it would make you give more thought to it also, then we would have it in, whoever's gonna do it in writing a little bit better. I mean, I'd like to see that, honestly,
Okay,
on your part,
okay,
and then we'll put the time in it, for the council level. So,
Yeah, in my opinion, I'm not sure it was meant to capture everybody. That wasn't
Right.
true intent.
yes,
That doesn't mean you've done it wrong. It just means you identified some shorts. So, and I like what Mike's saying. I think that's, if we want to approach it this way, then let's get some buy-in on your part as well.
yeah, I can do that, that's not a problem. I was going, like I said, I was going to, and then Marky thought it was, again, it's not quite what you had set in this, so he told me to go this route.
I think it makes everybody think it through a little more, honestly. So I don't know if we want to decide who may be interested in this. I'd like Charmaine to get involved, for sure. And if anyone else-
If anybody else wants to jump in, that'd be great. Yeah.
Do you pay more for bilingual officers?
No,
That's a pretty valuable trade. I didn't know if the ones that were paying for.
no, we don't. And right now, Alex, it's just deputies, sergeants, and then the chief deputy. So there's just 3. So,
It's a skill that you really don't go to training for, but I don't know if you have to test out of it to prove it, but it sure helps.
No, so I know in the past you used to have like probationary, first class, second class, whatever, so you still have that.
we do, yeah. Probationary, second class, and then.
I said
your
that
first.
word.
Yeah, I knew what you meant, yeah. And but they all fall within the pay range.
Right.
And then I'm not quite sure where that ever started or how it ever started. We just kept it. So.
It's been as long as I
years.
can remember. And there used to be dollar amounts between the different ones, but
Yeah, and I think it still is. It's just a flat dollar amount and not, so the probationary just goes up. Well, it probably can't be anymore, because now that we're on the,
It's not.
it's not anymore, but.
$500 or
Right.
$1,000.
I can't really,
Yeah.
I just knew there was steps. Because in the middle of a year, somebody would jump if they started in the beginning, like if you
We
started in
still do.
June,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
jump up in the middle of the year,
Yeah. Until you become first class and then you're,
and then you're done.
so.
So I have Charmaine and Craig.
Oh, well, I was gonna say.
I thought you said you would, I'm
Oh,
sorry.
you opened your mouth. Well, I want to make sure, I guess, it's like sometimes I jump in too far. I want to make sure there's that chance. I mean,
That would be 3.
You can only have 3. We have a quorum, we have to advertise it.
I can if Craig doesn't want to do it. Go on discussions.
Go ahead.
I appreciate it. So Tom, thanks. We'll just
All right.
get it,
Perfect.
get it initiated.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Have a good night.
Before you leave, he does have an additional appropriation for the sex offender.
Oh, yeah.
He has we split it to travel and for equipment because they're two different categories, so.
Okay.
I have 4,000 in travel and I have 500 in equipment, which we can always transfer back and
Yeah,
forth. I just,
That's plenty.
I kind of looked at what you said you were buying the equipment, so
Okay.
that's why I did it that way. So,
Okay, so.
the county sex offender,
County sex offender, other services, $4,000. I have a motion to make that appropriation, additional appropriation.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, Doug, and I have a second, Becky. And all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. And then capital outlay, $500, and I guess you're saying that's for,
you bought a
That was a
printer.
printer.
that's all the equipment, okay. So, so it's $500, may I have a motion to accept that additional appropriation? Yes. And Craig seconded, so all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Sharon.
Now,
Thank you.
Thanks.
Have a good night. Thanks, Sandy.
We had trouble, we went offline, and we went back on, so if anybody says anything, I don't know what happened. Just said unstable connection. Okay, Amy, Clerk Amy was here last week, or last month, about election board wages, and you guys gave her consensus to advertise. So she can't raise her salary during this year, but her two board members, $300 per year. So I have an additional appropriation out of the general fund election board wages for $600.
That's for two members, right?
It's two members, and then the salary ordinance I have is for each member to get $300 per year.
Okay, so could I have a motion to accept the additional appropriation for the election board wages? Two members at $300 and $600.
I'll make that motion, Mike.
So
I'll second this.
second, that, Craig. So all in favor, say aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
Then I need the amendment to the salary ordinance to pay them the $300.
Okay. So may I have a motion to accept that salary ordinance for the two members at $300, right?
Each party member will be paid for their service on the board, $300.
So may I have a motion to accept that? Charmaine made a motion, may I have a second?
I'll second.
Becky seconded, so all in favor say aye. Anyone opposed? Salary ordinance passes unanimously.
I see your. Oh, one more thing, then it's your turn. Under the general fund for the courthouse, we need $3,500 for appraisal upkeep. Our inventory, Universal Appraisal, I think their name is, they come in every so many years. They didn't come last year, they haven't been here in 8 years. This year, it's time to get them here to go through our set. We do an inventory, they just come and help and make sure and keep it all straight and make sure it's at the right values. So I need $3,500. I have $1,500 already, but I need $3,500 for them to come and visit all 7 locations.
So could I have a motion for additional appropriations and appraisal upkeep for $3,500? May I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, Doug made a motion,
I'll second that.
Craig seconded, so all in favor say aye. Anyone opposed? So the appropriation passes.
the judge is here to talk about the court recording system. So,
Judge Burkham?
Hey. All right, so I guess I'm really, what kind of precipitated this is they were trying to harden their computers, which they've not been able to do, but.
they're close. They tell me they think they found some.
Our recording systems in the courtroom are at best antiquated. Best we figure that the mixers, the audio mixers are from the original courthouse remodeled in '96. They are not supported in any way. There's no software to support them anymore. So we're limping along there. As long as they run, we can operate. But the computers are still on Windows 7. And when we get these new computers, at least in Superior Circuit Court, when we upgraded a couple of years ago to the Odyssey system, that computer was so old that we had to put a new computer in the courtroom. And then the software, which is like circa 2010, was not compatible with Windows 10. It wouldn't run. So we had to buy FTR for the records software, and since we hadn't bought software upgraded so long, we were a new purchase, which cost just for the little CD to run was $3,600. So we've already done that in our courtroom. But as I said, all the equipment is so old. We had jury trial. The last 2 jury trials we had to stop in the middle of the trial and reboot the system. Last Friday I had a termination of parental rights. System froze up in the middle of the trial, have to stop, reboot. Fortunately, the court reporters are on top of it, and they're stopping it right away. So we're not losing anything in the record, but it's been difficult. And now we're about to the point, the only person that can even patch our system together is Colin with Matrix, and he doesn't even live here anymore. He's doing everything remotely, so somebody had to come on site and work. So it's really just time. It's been the software. Superior Court and the software for the third courtroom, it's really just time to upgrade our system. So we've gotten quotes for work systems. They're the ones that originally put the system in '96, I guess, the original drivers. And so there's the quote that we have, and this is different than what we're using. We called some of the other courts. They're fitting the system. They're all happy with it. The entire state of Kentucky, from the trial courts, appellate courts, and Supreme Courts, all use this system. And it is also audio capable. I mean, there's a pilot program right now. Or sorry, did I say audio video capable? There's a pilot going on in 5 counties right now. So the entire state of Kentucky requires audio and video recording. And so right now, Indiana's kind of dabbling with that with a pilot program in 5 counties. This is the system they're using. So it allows us, this system allows us to maintain all the microphones we have, plus some extra ports or jacks. And we've already checked. If you decide to fund a judicial complex, we will pick the system up and carry it with us. So that's I guess, a bonus, if you will. So we've got the quotes. There is a grant. I don't know how much money we got left in that grant, but because there's some purchases that were made on it for other computers for community corrections and for Superior Court staff. So
Megan tells me there should be money in there for this systems,
it's a
for the 3 systems.
It's a reimbursement grant, but there's not going to be money enough to. This requires Cat 6 cabling to all microphones. So we're going to put 2 weeks ago, I think 10 days ago, we put out a request to Matrix for a quote for cabling. That cabling pool, haven't heard back from again. So we're going to need money for that, and then probably maybe a little bit more to cover that outside of the grant to cover the cost of these systems.
Just so you're aware, in beginning of February, I ordered computers for the courts. The 2 court, you and the small claims, they still haven't arrived. They cannot get machines. They're having issues with machines. because of the COVID.
We're still running Windows 7, and
Right.
it's real problematic in our office because
Right.
it's supposed to be when the system is designed to run on Windows 10, so
Right. So,
you sit and watch the
I mean, we're trying.
things spin.
And they told me they thought they found some, so they should be hopefully be getting delivered here, but I've heard that before and then it doesn't happen, so. But, it's just a thing with the world right now, we're having a lot of issues with computers. But the grant that Megan got should fund in $15,000 per courtroom. So we just need a little bit more money. And then for cabling, but I did put the whole 50 on here because it is reimbursable. We pay it and then we get the money back. So,
Is hardwiring the only option, or do they have a wireless Bluetooth type system they could do too?
I'm not seeing one. There's only a few vendors out there that, like the system that we have, which is FTR for the record. And, they're cable based, also I haven't seen anything that's, like I said, Bluetooth from the speaker to the, I mean, you still have to run, I would assume, have to run power to those microphones. If they're gonna be Bluetooth or changing batteries out, which is probably not very, in the middle of the trial, somebody running around with packs of batteries, changing batteries out. I've not seen any system like that, as I said, this is this Jab system is actually based out of Louisville. It's made in Louisville, so it's a local company. Work Systems is in Indianapolis, and they would provide the tech support.
they did give us several quotes. They gave us a bare minimum quote. They gave us one that we can expand on for video in the future. And they gave us the full quote with video.
Which was
The full quote with video was $71,514 per courtroom.
video drivers are wildly expensive apparently. Mixers and
The one we're looking at is $18.76 per courtroom. Because we can expand it.
we need that, it's the number of ports for microphones, we need that, because right now we have lapel mics for the attorneys when they're up walking around the courtroom doing opening statements, voir dire, closing arguments. Then we also have people that are hearing disabled, we have devices that they can wear and adjust the volume for themselves so that they can hear what's going on in the courtroom. But we needed that number of ports, so that's where we landed with this quote.
Any other questions of Judge Burkham?
I just find it amazing that you've been getting 25 years worth of use out of that system. That's amazing.
Well, everybody looks at it, says the same thing. I mean, Colin had to go somewhere when we had to put in the new software to find the driver for that mixer, and he said he had to go on the dark web or somewhere.
The dark web is an
Find
eBay
the
somewhere.
driver. It's just not out, it's not out there, the company doesn't even exist anymore. The company for our audio mixer, the company doesn't even exist, so you can't even get.
It's not good.
And the thing is the two courtrooms kind of act differently. Each courtroom,
Yeah.
the systems act differently, but they're the same systems.
And now we're getting a real buzz or a humming, or complaining about feedback, that they can hear, and then when they have to go back to the transcript, it's just really bothersome to have to try to work through that feedback to be able to type a transcript.
So can we make that, it's coming out of Cume Cap? right?
Yes.
And it's,
Well, hopefully, a majority of it will come from the grant.
Okay.
But
so we can make that additional appropriation tonight. So, okay.
I advertised 50,000.
$50,000 is, so there's no other questions or discussions. Can I have a motion to approve the $50,000 on the Cume Cap?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, Craig, any motion, any second?
I'll second.
Okay, Sonia, second. So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So the motion carries.
Aye, very good.
Thanks, Lon.
Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
Good meeting.
Thank you.
Okay. The next item on there is the Park and Recreation Non-Reverting Fund. I don't know how much you guys are aware or not, that the park got a land and water grant, and they're getting very close to going to bid for it. It is $250,000 grant it's a 50-50 match, so we have to come up with $250,000. But it's also a reimbursable grant, so we pay everything up front and then they reimburse us. But we have to put in $250 of our own money, which the park does have that. They budgeted for some of the $250 already in the budget, and so now we're gonna do what they have remaining in cash in the non-reverting fund of $245,503.
500 to 400.
Oh, sorry, 403. Did I set it back? Okay, 403, that's right.
Much, what's that again?
245,403. Now, it's not quite the 250 to make the 500, but as they do things with it, they'll claim money and get it put back in, so we won't hopefully need all 500.
Any more discussion? Park and Recreation. Okay, so I'll look for a motion to accept a motion to for $245,403 for park development for the non-reverting fund.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, Charmaine has made the motion. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Becky, second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Your motion carries.
I have a question, just a real quick question. So the balance in there is already about 250, so you understand? Okay, so this will almost round out 500,000.
Right.
All right. Thank you.
I just took what they had in their CDs and everything at the moment. This is all the cash they have in that non-reverting fund.
It was 245.
Yeah.
It was 255. I'm probably wrong.
They might have something already appropriated or something, I don't know.
Okay, next on the agenda, I guess, is the clerk's perpetuation fund.
I think the clerk had spoke to you about needing a copier for the records library last time. You gave consensus to advertise, so we advertised it. And now,
So $1,716. So could I have a motion to additional appropriation for the copier, $1,716?
Make the motion.
Okay, Alex made a motion, I have a second.
Go ahead, Becky.
Becky seconded, so all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The motion carries. I guess the next one is the big one.
the American Rescue Plan. We did receive our first installment Friday. We got a little bit more money than we thought we were gonna get. I had originally been told $8,288,384, but we were, now they tell me we'll get $8,300,967. We received half of the 8.3 million, so we're happy about that. But at the time of advertising, I advertised the 8.2, so I will do the difference. But we won't get the other half until next year, so we've got some time.
So that, so any discussion?
What was that number again?
8,300,000,
Yeah, we.
967 is what we're being allocated,
And that was in your email today, wasn't it?
probably.
Probably, okay,
So any discussion on that, or we just wanna?
So does that just go on a certain line item? I mean,
It has to be in a dedicated fund.
Okay.
And any interest that it earns has to be earned for this purpose, so she had set up a special bank account for it. So,
So any interest just goes back into that fund?
It just stays there, yeah. I just have to let Sammy know each month.
So,
the commissioners did, pass ordinance 2021-19, setting up the fund and, a plan to spend the money, which, they put in for revenue reimbursement, financial recovery, public health, and infrastructure. being broadband, water, sewers, that kind of thing. You're not held to the plan, it can change at any time, but you have to put some kind of plan in. We will be getting the money in 2 different tranches, which is another fancy word for installment.
Tranche, you just
That's
like
what-
saying, you just like saying.
That's what they
that
call it. That's what, we had to put in the ordinance, the tranches. So,
word.
yeah, so, anyway, we did get the first one, and then we're supposed to get the next half 12 months later, so I expect it next year about this time. We have up until 4 years to spend this money, so.
Good problem to have.
There is a committee that Chad has formed, and we will be meeting again on Friday. Trying to work on what to do and how to spend this.
Right. Okay, so additional appropriations of the coronavirus local fiscal recovery is $8,288,384 for the recovery, so could I have a motion to accept the additional appropriation?
I'll make that motion.
And Craig has made a motion, may I have a second?
I'll second.
Sonia seconded, all in favor, say aye. Anyone opposed? The motion carries.
It's just, the ordinance just has to say that you guys have to locally approve us spending it, so. So I will bring the other 12,000 sometime in the future here.
So the next on the agenda is the, like the budget transfers of the general fund to the auditor's capital outlay.
I purchased stand-up desks for, the deputies in my office, and I just need $134 transferred from supplies to equipment to finish out that invoice.
From what supplies to equipment.
From supplies to equipment.
Could I have a motion to make that transfer, $134?
I'll make that motion.
Becky made a motion, may I have a second?
I'll second.
Charmaine seconded, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, motion, budget transfer carries. And then the next on the agenda is the health Moderna vaccine grant.
I actually have 2, I got one today, so I didn't get to add it to your agenda. The Moderna grant vaccine, originally, should we go up again? Originally, they had appropriated it in nurses and like we did the other COVID-19 grants.
Okay,
But now Sean today got some information that he doesn't have to spend it for that because the clinics, we didn't need support staff. So they said he could use it for other things to help with the canopy. He's looking at windbreaks, heaters, that kind of thing, to use them for that. And they said that they're okay with that. So we're gonna transfer the personal services all to other services so he can use that. The amount is $11,320.65. It'll come from personal services to other services.
repeat that amount, please.
$11,320.65.
So, hearing that, can we make that budget transfer, $11,320.65?
I'll make a motion.
Doug made a motion down this side.
I'll second that.
Okay, Craig seconded, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So
Today, the CARES test site grant is just about ready to end in the end of June. And they needed to transfer from employee comp time to operating expenses so they can finish out that grant, $5,838.41. Getting quite a bit of vaccine grants.
and that is 5,800.
3841.
3841. Okay, hearing that, I think I have a motion to make that transfer.
So moved.
Okay, Charmaine made a motion, may I have a second?
Second.
Okay, Becky seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carried.
Martin, Tracy, Daryl.
Just a lot.
Yeah.
Also, I know they're not.
Okay, personal property tax abatements, you guys have approved them. I just need signatures on both of them. I sent them to you to kind of look over if they're, what they said they would do and what they actually did, so,
In national paper. And,
they're both international paper.
okay, put it-
One started in 15 and one started in 16, so
Does everyone need to sign that or just?
it's just you and I.
Okay.
I just need a motion to approve.
Hope everyone had a chance to review those international paper. So we have a motion to approve. Do we have to do both or each
Together, is fine.
together?
I'll make that motion, Mike.
Craig made the motion, now a second. Second. Okay, Alex seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Approved. Okay, next item I have was, would you have something, Kim, that you want to address the council?
I did, but I was gonna wait till the end to the end.
All right, we're gonna go into the budget discussion.
I don't mind waiting.
That's right. So we talked last month, I think, about the wage increase and kind of asked everyone to kind of think about it. I think we did some preliminary thinking. So come out here, how we want to open this up. You want to, we can have some discussion on that and what we think. You know, I don't know if, you know, what I looked at here, you know, the last cost of living for April appeared to be 4.2% inflation. What I got on, so if you average, you know, I kind of looked at the latest data from January to March. You know, core inflation was 1.65%, food and beverage was 3.36%, energy was 13.17%. So all items was 2.62%. So it appears still that inflation is here at this point anyway. So I don't see it receding. I know the government keeps talking about it, that this is transitional from the COVID economy to what we're in now. But I think with you know, just what Sandy said about computers, I mean, I think everybody's having that same issue with it, with anything that's manufactured almost. You cannot find. So I don't know, this is a little unusual. To me, it's an unusual situation that we got. And then to project this out to, you know, 2022 is what we have to do. And that's a task that seems tough to me. So, but we have to make some kind of decision here, so I don't know, we wanna start on one end or the other, work it this way.
I did some reading too within the last few days, let's see how we can do any less than 3. I don't see how we can be any less than that. Given the inflation. That's my 2 cents.
Becky,
3 was what I had in my mind, but at the least.
I mean, I just make a comment, I think when we looked at this, what it cost, the 3% rate, over the economy last year, I think we went through this, but a 3% raise would, with Social Security, with the person's raise, Social Security, Medicare, and PERF, it cost the county approximately, $389,000 to give a 3% raise based. So that's something we do need to look at. So I just wanted to put that on the table. So each percent makes about roughly $130,000 an additional cost to the county. So saying that, Greg.
Well, mine was 2%, and it's more so based on since last year's COVID. This is when we'll get money in here. The commissioners decided not to raise insurance on anybody, so I think we're going to absorb that cost, whatever that would be.
It did raise,
Pardon?
they did raise it,
That your premium.
if you participate in wellness.
Oh,
didn't raise it.
correct, okay, and I was referring to premiums, okay, yeah. So my number was 2%, based on those, because they're not raising the premiums. And last year's COVID did, I thought 2% there.
So, you wanna
I see where you're at, Greg, with the 2%, but then the inflation's up 4%. I don't know if I feel more comfortable with 3, just because I don't know if it's lower than what I'm saying.
Reduce insurance premiums, don't buy the groceries.
Right, exactly.
That's just one of my list, yeah, immediately.
when you say 4%, that's just for 1 month, for that to continue. I'm not saying,
Do we,
yeah,
we
you have to.
don't know.
Right,
Right.
nobody knows that. I know that the government doesn't even come up with saying that they think their opinion was it's a spike, in its transition, but. Anyways, so you have a number in mind?
I guess, I agree with what Craig's saying, but then I also agree it doesn't buy the groceries either. I would be more comfortable with 3.
Alex, you,
Yeah, I read that I think 40% of money in supply in the United States was printed in 2020. So I don't know where it ends, but I'm at 3%. And if stuff straightens up, we can pull back the reins in the future. What I'd like to do, but it could go crazy. So 3% minimum for me.
Doug, please comment.
Yeah, just how things are trending right now, it seems like, every month has gone up by, we started off at 1%, around one something, now it's up to 4%, so I agree, it has to be at least 3%, in my opinion.
Coming in here tonight, I was at first, I was kind of with Craig at the last meeting, but after this last forum with inflation, in May or April, I kind of was pushing it up to 2.5%. That's where I stand. So, as far as I personally, I stand at about 2.5%. And I see, the thing that we need to do, I think, and we'll take the words out of Craig's mouth, but you and I had some discussions, about trying, and I spoke to Marky about it. But at the end of the year, we do, or at some time, we do need to, tell the, break down with the employees, what their wages are, what we pay in social security, what we pay in turf, that.
Their total compensation package,
Right.
is what we're trying to.
I think that's an important thing here going forward. It looks like, we can put hands up, and, it looks like the majority is 3%, so I think we can, unless we want more discussion on it, I really don't. If I had a crystal ball, I could sit here and tell you what it's gonna be, or what, how we should handle this, but I don't have it, and I don't know if anyone really at this point has it. Because if they put another couple $1 trillion into the economy, there's just a shortage of everything now. And, we may be, so, I don't know.
In the past, we can say put 3% in your budget, but that doesn't mean, we can always revisit that in August, because we've got 2.5 months until budget review. We needed to modify it.
You can always go lower, you can't go higher.
Well, if
Three of us are at least, so we're thinking at the minimum. 2 of us are right at 3, and then 2 of us are below 3. So, on average, it seems like 3 or a little bit above, depending on how much we're, it's going to go.
Just
It's
saying.
probably the most, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was just saying, if it just dips back down, the numbers aren't nearly as high as what we thought that they were, as far as inflation goes, but I still see it at least 3%.
Okay, do we,
So you're thinking we would
We can always adjust it down.
3.25?
Well,
And
no,
then we could always go down from there, is that what you're saying?
No, if we say 3 and it ends up not being, if it ends up trending downward over the next 2.5 months, which realistically I don't see happening, we could always go down if we,
I agree with it.
if the suggestion that you guys are making.
It appears, which lumber is only one thing, and so, but lumber has broken its trend, how long is it gonna take once it's up there? It's still gonna cost someone building a home, that amount of money, it's been a tough time, really. So, I don't know, let's just have a vote, hand vote, anyone in favor of 2.5%? Anyone in favor of 3% or 3%? So, I guess,
And okay with that, absolutely.
so let's advertise or let them figure their budget.
We'll tell everybody to put in for 3%. It is a 26 pay next year, so we don't have to worry about the extra paycheck in there. So we'll put in for 3%. We'll tell people to put in for 3%. And then if they have put in with Marky, then they need to work through that process. I don't know.
And if they want to be prepared while they're working on their budget, they go ahead and do like a 2.5. Carry another 3%, so they have some figures.
Yeah, I don't have it.
It doesn't have, it's almost max.
Now, the question will be, you will adjust
I'll do it.
this chart and send it to me so we can forward it out at the end of the week. Because we normally send out budget stuff on June 1st, so
Try to do it tonight.
Okay.
I won't press you till Friday afternoon.
Well, it's a tough decision, I think, personally.
Well, hopefully with the ARPA money, our revenues will be there and we won't have to get cut that way.
When we were looking at it last year though, with COVID and everything, thinking, boy, when is this gonna hit us? Now it's gonna be 2022 that things were gonna be.
That's before ARPA was ever thought of.
Yep, exactly. So, getting a break on some other things of different monies coming in makes me feel a little better.
Speaking of budgets, we need to set some end of the year dates. We only went through July.
Okay,
Um,
didn't we have, August, we had the August meeting set, Phil, right, August 9th?
we did August 9th for the budget.
Okay,
I didn't know if you wanted to meet again that month or not. That's up to you.
do we need to, you
So-
think?
It just depends how long you want that day to be, and if you want to advertise for additionals and stuff at another meeting, that gives us, the end of August. But it's totally up to you. If you want to do it that day, we can do it for that day.
Maybe we should start from that, actually go with December. And work it backwards, like we'll have a meeting probably the 29th or 30th to close out of December. I'll just say maybe.
Yeah, I wrote down what I would work for our office. The 29th would be better because the 30th we're closing the books, and,
Right,
if the 29th would work.
So December 29th, and that would be in the morning.
We have done them in the morning. It depends on your schedules.
I will have a doctor's appointment for my daughter in the morning on that day, actually, the 29th.
So, do we want to, would we want to do it at 4:30 then, or?
Like I said, it's up to you all.
Or we could meet in the afternoon during the day, while you guys are still open. If you
Whatever
do your
works.
thing.
1 o'clock, or that, how long do you think that would take, Doug?
It's for her tooth and her ears, it's a checkup, so I'm not sure how long, it's a hearing test. It goes along with it, I think.
Do you want to try to do it right after lunch? You think that would be?
Yeah,
1 o'clock?
that should be fine, yeah.
So 1 o'clock on the 29th? 1 o'clock PM? Okay, then, regular meeting, that would be,
Normally, we have to have all additional appropriations done by December 15th, so December 13th.
13th. Okay, does that work with everyone, December 13th? And that would be, again, at 4:30, right? That would just be a regular meeting? Okay, and then November
22nd or 29th,
22nd is,
the week of Thanksgiving.
right,
29th is my birthday.
No, I'm just thinking,
It's Emma's birthday.
if you do it the 29th, it's just 2 weeks later until that 13th meeting, like, let's do it a little earlier.
20,
Like the 22nd or something.
you think that'd be okay, that Thanksgiving week, 22nd,
Me,
November 22nd?
I will not be available the 22nd.
What about the 15th?
I'm available 15th, that's acceptable, whatever.
15th, does that work with everyone, the 15th? On November 15th, 4:30, okay, and then October? Would be-
we had budget adoption last year around October 25th, so that's why I wrote the 25th there.
I mean, that works with me.
It's just 2 weeks later until that November meeting, but
And that's,
that's okay.
that's budget adoption.
Adoption, and then your public hearing has to be 10 days before that, and I wrote either 12th or the 13th. I didn't know if you've had them on Tuesdays, you've had them on Wednesdays, whichever works for you. I only need 4 people here for public hearing,
So that would be
and we've made those usually later at night because it is a public hearing.
October 13th then, it's, wasn't it at 6 o'clock?
6 o'clock, yep.
So does that work with everybody, October 13th at 6 o'clock?
I can make that work.
And it's a public hearing.
Yeah, it doesn't last long.
In
And
September.
then September,
Is, I was thinking the 27th, if anyone, because the 20th night, the IC's got their meeting. I don't know, I'd like to maybe go this year's, possibly, I don't know.
it's at Belterra.
Yes.
So that, would the 27th work for everybody?
I free night that day.
There you go.
That's not 50,
Not business.
that's outside of 50-mile radius, isn't it?
Yeah, they just voted for 50. It's outside of it.
I'm just kidding. But, so it's, for the 27th, if that works, and then we give people the option if they want to go to that meeting. Which we haven't really spoken to the council people, have a meeting there.
Okay, so I have September 27th, 4:30, October 13th, public hearing, 6 PM, October 25th, budget adoption, 4:30, November 15th at 4:30, December 13th at 4:30, and December 29th at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And then August, I didn't know, I mean, I know we're gonna have the budget workshop day,
Yeah, so the only one we're having that month.
that's up to you. Whatever.
August, I mean, there's really no.
I mean, It is a long day, it starts at 8 and goes till you're finished. I just have to know, we do have to do a, non-binding reviews that day, which that doesn't take much. And then any additional appropriations we'll have for that day.
Now, if we have this kind of a list of additionals, that's gonna make it go really, really, really late. But if there's only one or two,
And you know, it starts out with 1 or 2 and then it gets to be,
I mean, it's okay with me.
That's way there's like this for me.
30th, I'm not sure.
if you wanna wait until July, you can always advertise
We
for
can do
it.
August 30th, that's the 5th, Monday of the month.
That would be at 4:30.
Yes.
So, everybody okay with August 30th? Everybody, just everybody make it August 30th, okay, at 4:30? Okay. Meetings. I mean, I've got some other things, but these are just general discussions if you want to go on.
Mine's gonna take 2 minutes.
This is Kitty Murphy, the treasurer. Kitty,
Yes, hello.
but we're on
We're on,
YouTube.
So Scott just asked me to come and talk to you and give you an update on construction of my office. So we had the universal quote of like 10,000 something, and then Cramps had said, 3,000, I think.
This is
And-
Cranford.
Just one. And we went back to them, and Scott went back to them and asked them if they would sell us the plans like Universal would. They said no. So, he just wanted me to let you know that if we go with them, we don't get the plans unless they do the work. I mean, but if we go with Universal, they don't have to do the work. If we even decide to do the work. So,
So what's the thought of the commissioners? Have they thought about it or?
they kind of thought like Universal, because then you get the plans. Scott thinks that that it would just save money to go with Jasper. Because he thinks that it's going to, like, it's not gonna be as big of a project as what we might think it is.
I think I kind of looked at, or with Scott and Kitty, to see what they were wanting to do, and I kind of recommended at first, Universal Design, because they're the architects kind of, so, and they would help probably get it out and do some other things, but, and then this other job, they do all for 3,000, so that's it. But like you're saying, they won't give you the plans unless you could take them. I was wondering, my only thought now would be, could they give us a budget estimate? Just alone for
I can go back
and see if, see what kind of money we're talking about. I mean, it could be 50,000 and it could be 75, you know what I'm saying? I don't know what it
and
is.
the thought is more like 30.
Okay.
That's the thought. And I know there was some discussion of whether or not even to do it, if we're gonna go forward with fixing all the courthouse. But in either scenario, someone else would be in that space.
Sure.
And so it would be good to just have that done anyway, even if the auditors expanded or you moved the assessors down there, that wall of glass would still be useful.
So what she's wanting to do is cut where you go in, there's two doorways, one on the, the public, most of the public comes in, and then there's other one that goes back to that little sitting area, but they're all open. But to cut that opening to be, I think he talked 6 or 7 feet wide, so you could have 2 counters working, but the public would stay in the hallway, and we, they would take the counters and move them out into this opening.
So it would be
Kinda
like
like
the
the,
clerk's office or the recorders.
Right.
It would look exactly the same.
And then they would use the other door as an entry and exit door, and then that would open all that room that she could have possibly a little private office or, or sitting or, it's kind of like what the recorder did, just a little area that she could talk to someone without everyone knowing about it.
And when they come in and yell at me, they could yell at me in private. As opposed to scaring all the other staff.
I think it's a good plan, but like, he kind of talked to me about it also, when you're spending, technically 7,000 more, went on a $30,000 job, if that's what it is. And then Scott was also talking about possibly he could subcontract the new part of it,
Right.
possibly, and maybe do some painting. I don't know.
I think I don't know much about construction, but it appears to me the biggest cost is going to be the beam because it's a low-bearing wall.
It's a 12-inch thick, solid brick wall that's gonna have to be cut out too thin and put a steel beam up there. So that's the work. I mean, technically. And reworking the cabins, you can't, I think there's 4 stations now, we're gonna have to cut them down by 2, so it's gonna take some work on the cabinetry.
I mean, when the Jasper lumber guy was there, he made it seem like it wasn't that big a deal, but.
I mean, I only thought, we can't do it, but they wanting us to make a decision tonight which way to go, it's kind of the commissioners.
No, they were just wanting me to let you guys know where we stood and, the money has to come from, you guys have to approve the money, so.
I mean, like I say, my opinion would be at least ask them if they would be able to put some kind of a budget number together. Then we would know, we know at least what we're talking about. I think for the commissioners also.
I can go back and have Scott talk to them. They kind of ignored me when they were in my office. They focused on kind of like, hey, I know some stuff.
So, I appreciate you bringing it to us.
Okay, all right, thanks.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
I just wanted to touch base on a couple things here, got something that, we had this gentleman in from Davis County, Washington, the Adult Protective Services. I just wondered, I've been thinking, how can we get that moving for budget time? Does someone want to go, the commissioners, I don't think they really know anything about this, I just wondered if we want to get the gentleman back to present it to the commissioners before the August meeting, or does one of us want to bring it to the commissioners that they are aware of it? And maybe Sandy knows if that would have to be in their budget. It's kind of like a donation. Didn't we talk about a donation or would this be like
Budget.
That's what I was thinking. So they're going to have to know about it to do it, don't they? So, suggestion how we could handle that.
I could have him come back and speak to commissioners at a commissioner meeting.
I kind of think we ought to get that ball moving if we want to do it. I mean, unless someone else got a better idea.
Well, hopefully he's talked to the other counties to see if they're going to pitch in or.
I think Chad talked about he was gonna get with Mark Messner and Shane Lidauer to see.
I called Mark already.
I called Mark that night that we had that meeting, I'm like, this is despicable, what's happening? He didn't know anything about it.
So, I mean, maybe that's a.
Now, do you guys have a suggestion of how much you'd wanna donate, or how much you know,
I mean, if it's, you didn't need 50,000 short for one landscape, and then if you divide that by 6 counties, if I'm not mistaken, at least it's a start.
Okay, so for this year, he said that he's only, is it $2,500 short? Is that total? I think that was total.
I think short, and that's not giving any raises or doing,
and he was pretty sure most of those other counties would not be able to donate.
yeah, I mean, I had written down 50,000 divided by 6 is $8,500, so.
10,000?
It's just if you guys came up with kind of a consensus, it might help them along.
And I guess my other thought would be, do we feel that this is it's gonna be every year, or we just do this as a one time thing? I mean, you know what I'm saying, hopefully the legislature.
My hope is that it'll be 2 years, because it's a biannual budget, it's not in no changes were made in the state budget this year, so that goes for 2 years. And then hopefully we can stay on market chain and they'll do something about it.
Any discussion on that, anyone else? Do I have a consensus of $10,000? Anybody who would be in favor of proposing that?
Now, are you saying 10,000 for the 2 years?
No.
Or just for each
year.
year?
Per year.
Or do you want to go back?
With the presentation given to the commissioner, so.
Right, I mean, we would, I'm gonna go back to $8,500, and I'd be dividing it by the 6 counties. Do you want to start out with 8,500, who's in favor of 8,500? To give, I mean, it's just this year. It's a commitment for this year, really.
This is for 2020.
That's what we. Anybody, who's in favor of 8,500? Two of us. Okay. Who's in favor of 10,000? Okay, so.
You have to pay for so long. It's
Right.
well over the.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine. I mean, I just,
Knowing that there's other counties that will not contribute anything
that's,
or very little.
that's
I'll
great.
see if I can get him here for a commissioner meeting. If not, I can at least try to get him on the phone to talk to him. And then we'll put it in the commissioner budget. Go from there.
Okay, the next thing I have, you know, they've secured, you know, just an update on the security center and the community corrections. Again, on this, Mary, bids came in at $1,300,000 under budget. Bonds were sold, I think I sent an email out. There was 6 bids and the true interest rate was a 1.717. And the county was given a Standard & Poor's rating of a AA minus, which is very good. And so they were really, I mean, the financial people were very impressed. They said that, you know, to get that many bids and to do, you know, people seeking these kind of bid bonds, I mean. So that's a great deal, and that with that interest rate, we are gonna save, you know, when we had talked about maybe 500,000 left, you know, it's gonna be quite considerably more after we pay off pay the monthly bond payments. So we're gonna have a lot of additional money there that has to stay in the CR fund. But we are, you know, we're really fortunate, I think, and that's the way, you know, everyone, I think, feels as far as the financial people. The contract documents were signed on the commissioners meeting on 5/17, May 17th. And there's a progress meeting, a kickoff meeting on May 26th at 10 o'clock up at the jail. They didn't know exactly if it was going to be in the jail basement or they're going to normally be in a construction trailer. So, you know, if anyone's invited every other Wednesday, I can send that out. You know, if you can attend one, that's great. I'm going to try to attend most of them so I can give a report at least, you know, when we have the meetings. But that's the first one here is May 26th at 10 o'clock, which is coming up shortly.
The money has been transferred, wired, everything's complete, so the money's in place.
No more drinks.
I haven't had any lately.
We can talk about that after the meeting.
And then on the
Not about that anyway.
so if anybody's ever got any questions, they can kind of keep the chat, you know, definitely chat and I up to date on everything that's going on. Hopefully we don't run into any, you know, real problems at first. On the ARPA funds, you know, we talked about those previously. I think you and I are both on that committee and so, you know, we had met with, I set a meeting up with REC, and, you know, we were trying to get them to see how they can help maybe expedite this rural broadband. So we met with them and PSC down at Spencer, up here in Spencer. So they're gonna try to get together to see possibly what Du Bois REC can help with, and that's maybe upgrading some of their lines and that kind of thing. And maybe we could, you know, we were talking about how can we incentivize them to help, because right now they're talking, Orange County is talking 6 years to get this completed, which, you know, a year ago, roughly they said 5 years, but now, you know, the government gave us 6 years and to cover the area they want to cover could take every bit of the, you know, 5 years. So just to let you know, and if you have any ideas on who we, if you got any ideas or hear anyone requesting money, which, you know, we're taking those all down. And you guys probably all read also that, you know, you don't want to rush into this. It's something we got 4 years to spend this money, and it doesn't have to, all the work does not have to be completed. It only has to be contracted, right? So we got even really over 4 years to accomplish, you know, what we want to maybe do. The other thing, I just want to request something here. You know, we had, I think I set this up on the TIF meetings at the, you know, that I signed as a member, and I think I told you that in my email, that, you know, we were requesting that the redevelopment commission do a couple of things, or at least take that into consideration when they're establishing these, you know, under existing TIF districts and in their future, that they could possibly do one of these things or help us to get some of that money back to all the taxing units. So there's a annual redevelopment commission meeting for Jasper on June 1st at 8 a.m. I cannot attend that meeting, but I'd like to have somebody represent the council. So I don't know if you have done any volunteers. I'll give you this letter, and either I can email it to anybody that would like to do that. But it's June 1st at 8 a.m. in the city hall, council chambers. Now I don't know. I tried to speak with the mayor a little bit. You know, are we going to have to put any input in it or just listen? And he really didn't know. He said just an annual meeting that we're obligated. Not obligated, but this.
Well, I think the response we got from our letter when Elmer presented it was, we have these meetings, if you want projects, bring them to us. But whatever our project is has to directly impact or be associated with that district. And I know like the airport, Travis, the airport's over there, it's not over here. How can it directly, so, I don't know. And then I asked Matt Eckerly with Baker Tilly, I said, tell me a few things, what can we do with projects that would impact? Well, you can't buy vehicles, you can't buy, because I was thinking maybe an ambulance or maybe, but some people do sheriff cars if it covers that area. So, but most of the time vehicles are not a project you can do. So, I don't know. It's just hard to come up with a project that
Right.
we might help get our 15% pass through. They can pass through up to 50% of the AV. So,
I just think it would be beneficial for one of the council members to at least be there as representation. And like I said, I can't make it that day. So I don't know if anyone's interested, has interest in that.
I have interest, but I have something on my calendar, 7:30 that morning. I'm out of town.
8:30.
It
Now-
starts at 8, I could possibly put mine off.
But this is the letter, Well, I mean,
and I don't know when Honeybird's redevelopment commission's gonna be meeting, but I think we need to start making presence there as well, whenever they do.
I just think otherwise we lose, I think we need to stay in, we need to work together as a unit. I mean, and I can go into disappointment that I have, but I never heard a word about it. I don't think anybody here did. They tell me that they had it in the paper and they did it somehow.
When we got notice in the office, it had met the night before. It was like, what? Because I was working late that night. I was like, what is this? An email, after hours email. It's like, what is this?
So, they have the legal right to make any TIF district that, but it's something I still think it does affect us. It does affect the schools. It does affect, it affects a lot of different types of units. And, I think it's, I feel kind of like they should be more open with it, and we should work together. That's what, if it's a blighted area or
But the other thing, if they would just take in where they would build that apartment community, would be one thing, but to go as big as they've gone here is rather ridiculous.
Well, and that was my question to Matt Eckerly. I said, why did they make it so big? Why didn't they just make that apartment complex area? I said, it's just like the rest of Jasper, 900 plus parcels.
Yeah.
It's huge.
Yes.
And it's not really gaining much because nothing's really coming in, but I think they said they wanted to make it big enough that somebody would come in, but there's not a lot of blank area that they can come into. So, I don't know.
Anyway, I appreciate it, Becky, if you would could attend that. I mean, I
See if
would.
I can get my other push button. This was supposed to be, it's Bill's last day, so.
Is anyone else interested in attending it or?
Well, like I said, I do know that, like, I'm going, I don't know if Elmer's going or not. Travis is, I'm pretty sure going. So, we do have some representation
County representation.
heading there. Other taxing units heading there, so.
Okay, does anyone else have anything for discussion?
I have one item. Community Corrections had a printer go down today, and so consensus to advertise for a new scanner, printer, copier, $4,400.
Can we,
And I didn't know if you'd want that from CUME funds, like other equipment, or I don't know if she has anything else.
that's community correction?
Yes.
And come on the CR fund?
I ain't going there.
What are we gonna use?
Good call,
What,
good call. Didn't think of that.
well, it's part of that, it's the operations there.
Sure.
I
Let's try for it.
Well, if that's the case, we already had CR tax already appropriated.
Okay.
But I think I need to make a phone call and say, can I use this for this? Because I don't want to have to pay it back.
Let's have a hand vote that at least to approve.
We'll do that first and then,
I mean,
We'll at least do the money, and if we can't get it out of there, then we'll put it on the agenda.
we'll have that.
Is that all right?
If we can get a CR, let's do it.
So it's.
I will make some phone calls to see if I can take it as CR. If I cannot, then I will have it on the advertisement list for next month.
You know, I guess my thinking is this excess, I mean, I know we have rehabilitation and all that we have to pay for, but, you know, it seems like that kind of thing nowadays. Seems like that would be definitely a way to spend, you know, to.
So what's the discussion on the Justice Center?
You know, I have not heard anything. I mean, the only thing I heard is they were thinking about, you know, getting everything settled in first here, get this thing going. And then, you know, it's so, I mean, I think it's, you know, we've probably got 6 months that we could possibly, before we have to get involved. Okay.
Are they planning on using this money though, is what I'm,
I don't think.
okay, is it gonna be its own separate project?
I don't think you can use CR tax for the
Well, that's why, you know,
Course.
we're sliding other stuff in, they were trying to slide that in at one time too, so. I just wanna make sure we have operating and rehabilitation money. That's, you know, that's my big thing, I'm gonna fight for that
I
forever.
mean, it's quite a bit.
Yeah.
I mean, with the lower interest rate and with the lower bid, I think we're gonna be, I mean, I can try to get that information and email it to you,
That would be good.
so.
Cause I do have the public asking about that.
Sure.
Are we gonna make sure we have rehabilitative services or?
Sure.
Support.
Yep.
Then how do we run that? Who runs it? What do we, how do we go?
Okay, then, let someone else have anything else to discuss? Okay, so the next meeting is on June 28th, and then I'll set the motion to close the meeting.
So moved.
Okay, Charmaine, on a second.
I'll second.
Sonia, second, and all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thanks. We just codified this county ordinance codification book. There's 2 of them here. I'm just gonna glance through one, I'm gonna take one along, the other one's here.
Did you say it's online? The code book is online? The email?
You have to go to American Legal. I haven't linked it to our website yet.
Okay.
Anyone wanna take this home and look at it?
If you want to take a look at it,
Sandy, I'm gonna take the other one,
Okay.
and Alex is gonna
Change
one.
these out, right?
yes, ma'am.